Hello and welcome. I am Vox Sinistra, and you're tuned in to my channel here on Twitch. This is my still unnamed interview show, which I started a couple months ago, I guess, with dark electronic and alternative producers, interviewing them and listening to their releases, getting to know a little bit about their stories and about this new underground music. So this week's guest is NightNight, and you may have seen her live set for us on Strict Tempo this past week. It's still in my VODs if you want to catch it with the full show. And she also performed in the live band with Sherry Very, also known as Void Vision, on keys and some backup vocals. So that was a really excellent performance. Thanks a lot for joining us this past week on Strict Tempo. And I'm excited to hear a little bit more about this album, Love Decayed, which just came out last week on January 28th and is now available in CD format on a German website. We'll talk a little bit about this later, but and it's also on iTunes Music, on Apple Music, and other streaming platforms for digital versions. But yeah, welcome to NightNight.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be here with you. What an amazing introduction. Can't buy introductions like that.
All right. So I'm going to read NightNight's bio here, and we'll get started with some introductory questions and then go into listening to the album track by track. So that is the plan of action here. If you have any questions for us, feel free to leave them in the chat. Okay, so NightNight is the electronic/alternative project from Yasmin Maryam Haddad. Currently residing in Brooklyn, New York, this classically trained violinist, guitarist, singer, and recording engineer emerged from the Las Vegas music scene. The child of an Iranian cab driver and a Moroccan-American dancer and poet, Yasmin grew up in Las Vegas and was featured as a violinist on The Killers' Sam's Town album. After leaving Las Vegas, Haddad relocated to Seattle, Washington, engineering at Clatter Din Studios. NightNight was born during this time. Yasmin is currently deeply interested in modular and all forms of synthesis, creating evolving soundscapes for NightNight. She is also an active member in New York's The Wants, playing bass and keyboards. Okay, so would you like me to call you Yasmin or NightNight?
Oh, no, Yasmin is fine. Yeah, let's not.
I guess, I mean, maybe depends on the person. I kind of prefer to be called like Vox or just like Vox Sinistra when I'm in
Yeah,
like my musical persona. But
I totally get it.
I
I
guess,
just feel like I haven't earned the Madonna status of choosing an alternate name yet. You know what I mean? Like I'm
I,
still myself, I think.
I guess your name, it sounds more like a band name versus like
Right.
a person's name that you can just like
Yeah,
call them.
I agree. And then
uh,
people are going to be, do I just call you Knight? Then it's weird, right?
right,
So
right.
I think, Night
Yeah,
Night's a full name.
like if you were interviewing like Bright Eyes or something, it's not like you would refer to him as Bright. Like it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
a
Like
one
Mr.
person
Eyes.
alias, but
Yeah. It's weird.
a- anyway, I don't know why I came up with that example, but it was the first thing I thought of.
Pulled that out of a pocket somewhere.
Yeah, my 15-year-old self emerging. All right. Yeah. So Yasmin, hello. Welcome. Uh,
Hello.
do you just want to get started here and tell us a little bit about how you got started with this project? So you're from Las Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, Night Night is interesting because I started in a band. I always wanted to be in in a punk rock band or in a like industrial band. So I started with a lot of people. I had a band in Vegas called Chemical X, and we were together, from when I was like 14 to, I broke up in my early 20s, and uh, had a lot of fun with that band, did a lot of stuff. But, bands are hard to keep together. People have real lives. They, personal issues, all sorts of stuff. And, I ended up leaving the city, and that really killed that band. So then in Seattle, I was like, I'm going to start another band. And it was even more difficult, not because I didn't find great musicians and they weren't amazing. It was because the stuff I was trying to do, I'm trying to like do an equal amount of electronic music and live music. And it's hard to find people who do both of those things. It's easy to find one or the other, you get a lot of great electronic musicians who can't play live and don't want to play live, and then you get a lot of live musicians who don't want to get into the technical part of playing. So it was just too hard to form a band. And I just decided, okay, I'll record all the music myself and then I'll find someone else to play it later, and I just never found someone later, and that's how we ended up with this. This is the music that I wanted to make. And Sherry, God bless her, she, when I saw her doing what she does, I was like, well, here's someone who gets it. She performs live, but she wrote this music. And that's kind of where, she decided to join me because she was like, hey, I like what you're doing. And we could accomplish it live together, without having 5 people. It could just be us 2, so that's how it became what it is.
So let's go back a little bit here. So when did you leave Las Vegas and move to Seattle?
Oh God, I don't remember the year. I don't remember the year, but I do remember I think it was like 2010. I think it was like 2010. And I lived there for a bit. Yeah.
So you were on the Killers album Sam's Town while you were in Las Vegas. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? I think
Yeah,
that
I mean,
that album was
sure,
like
sure.
2006-ish, maybe.
Yeah, right. So I was either in high school or about to graduate high school, and I was working at a music shop, and I used to play in this Irish cover band. I used to play violin. When you play violin, right, and you're trying to make money, you don't really have a whole bunch of options, right? So it's like you play classical music, you play weddings, or you play in bands that had violin players, which leaves you with like Irish music, Dave Matthews Band, and Kansas, right? So, I did all 3, by the way. I did whatever would pay me when I was a kid. I was like, please give me money. I will play Dave Matthews Band. But I also played Irish music in a band that was like a total punk joke, like, hilarious band called Darby O'Gill and the Little People, like offensive in a million ways, but hilarious. And the girl who played in that band, normally Tristan, was dating one of the guys in the Killers. And so they asked her to come play, and they asked her she's a fiddle player and she's a great fiddle player, but they asked her to play something, I guess, where they had to read music. And she was like, no, I got somebody though. I could call this girl because she subs for me in the band. So that's how I ended up getting that gig. I showed up, I read what there was to read. I brought in one of my friends who actually, oddly enough, plays violin for Void Vision now, Adrena, and she also played with me.
Oh, I didn't know that there was a violin like in Void Vision tracks. Is that like for live stuff, or some of the like recorded albums have violin?
I'm not sure she's on any of the records. And you'd have to have Sherry correct me, but she does play live sometimes with Sherry, depending on the show.
Learning something new already.
Yeah.
So how long did that take to record? Was it just like a track or two that they needed, or was it like pretty violin heavy?
It was okay. So I got to tell you what the coolest thing about it was, right? Because those guys, when I was a kid, like a lot of the bands that were big in Vegas were like this sort of Nickelbacky Creed, like Jesus Christ, what is happening sort of thing. So when they happened, even now that you see them, they're kind of like an arena rock, whatever. But when they happened at the time, it was like a throwback to sort of like 80s-ish stuff. And I thought it was so cool because I was super into what they were into, right? Even though they were older than me. We used to sneak in to go see them. So when we got to play on the record, we were so stoked about that. But what was really cool about it was Flood produced that record, and this is Flood who did Smashing Pumpkins, PJ Harvey, Depeche Mode, Violator, Flood. So the whole time I was just like, oh my God, can you tell me about this? Can you tell me about this? Like this just annoying little kid who wanted to like sit next to him and talk to him and be like, I need to know everything about Billy Corgan or whatever it was at that time that I was so into. Yeah, that was kind of the coolest thing. But the violins took a day, but it was like a straight day because there were only two of us. So, we just did it over and over and over. I think there were like 3 or 4 tracks we played on. I'm not sure if I kept on all 4. But there was more than 1 or 2.
And so in between playing, it was just like, Flood, tell me things.
Yeah, we went to sushi. And like I remember like everyone wants to sit next to the band, and I'm like, I don't want to sit next to the band. I want to sit next to him. I want to ask him questions about, you know,
Yeah, I'm on your team
oh,
with that one too.
Jesus Christ, Violator. Like, what was Violator like?
Yeah, I remember when The Killers came out. It was kind of part of that like early 2000s, mid 2000s ish wave of like bands that were harkening back to like sort of post punk and 80s, like new wave sort of inspiration. And not quite electroclash, but more in like the alternative end of
Yeah,
things. I mean, it
yeah,
was definitely a good alternative to like the post grunge stuff that you were talking about, like Creed and like yeah, I view like Nickelback. That's all like the death of like commercial rock music, basically. It was
yeah,
like it got super popular in the 90s and to such a point that it became like co-opted by the name mainstream, then like radically altered to be really bad. So then we had like post grunge come out of grunge, and that's where we saw those bands, like Nickelback and Creed were post grunge and
yeah,
killed rock music altogether.
yeah.
But
It was
I mean,
unfortunate.
there's always continued to be good stuff in the underground, and
Oh,
really
for
like
sure.
many different genres, right? Yeah.
Oh, obvious.
Sorry,
Yeah,
you're getting me
obviously, I'm
into
not
rant
talking.
mode.
No, no, obviously I'm not talking about underground music, right? Because like the underground music and the music that you could find at the record store or the local music was, a lot of local music was good. It was actually like a golden era, I think, in Las Vegas for like sort of local music, but most of it went nowhere. And not saying went nowhere as in wasn't important, but went nowhere as in isn't, a person outside of the city wouldn't know it, you know so I do think even though they are a very mainstream big band, we're lucky that they made it out. We're lucky that someone's heard of them, because they were, in my opinion, the best of the options, like by far. you know
It didn't take long for a cat interruption to happen. Right.
oh, where?
Uh, oh, she's here.
Oh no, and some,
In
yeah,
my lap. She's black, so
I love it.
hard to see, I guess. But yeah, she blends in. But yeah, my lap accessory here. Anyway, she wants to be involved in this interview too. Um, yeah. Do you know? Can you remember some of the bands that were active like around that time? You mentioned it was like a golden era for the Las Vegas scene. Do you remember any of the band names?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely do remember the band names. I'll bring up who were my favorite local band, right? And it was a band called Junior Anti-Sex League. I loved Junior Anti-Sex League. They were named after the 1984 band. And they were like, there was my band, and then these guys were like more like a Husker Du sort of Talking Heads, old school rock and roll throwback with a little bit of art rock stuff in there. And they were all really great musicians, right? They were like jazz band kids, and we were like the orchestra kids. So we had like this affinity and love for each other, and we'd always try to outdo each other at shows, or at least I thought so. They probably weren't trying to outdo us, but we were trying to outdo them. And it was they still, a couple of them still make music, but a couple of them also became adults and have families, and not that you can't do both, but are not doing both. So that's a band I remember, and they were just cool. They would just, it was like the old school taking chances and not really caring what happens and saying crazy things and just doing ridiculous stuff. And they were the kings of like ridiculous stunts, but also like really good music.
Sorry, what was the name of that band again?
Junior Anti-Sex League.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I haven't heard of them. I mean, I can't say I was like particularly hip to many local underground scenes at this point. I think we're probably
Yeah.
about the same age, so I was also a teenager at that point. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that's cool. So when did you leave Las Vegas? You said like around 2010.
Yeah, around 2010, I think, is when I left. I just, the thing about Vegas, and I discovered this about Seattle too. You're in Seattle, but um, it's one of those places that's not a big town, but also not a small town. Do you know what I mean by that? Like you don't know everyone
Hmm.
directly like you would in a small town, but through one person, you know everyone directly, right? And if you grow up someplace, you either decide to lean into that and that becomes your life, or you decide that, you want to start over. You don't want everyone to know you through one person. And that's kind of where I was. I was in a lot of bad situations, bad relationship, bad job, bad like family situation, not with my father. My mother's a wonderful person. And I just had to leave. I didn't want to stay in it. So I just took my stuff and left and went to Seattle. And I knew one person in Seattle. It was just like, I hear it rains there. It looks nice. I just need to get out of here. And, I never moved back. I still go back to see my friends, but I never really went back.
Back to Las Vegas, you mean?
Yeah, to live. No, I haven't. I still have a
I
lot of great
mean,
people who live there.
yeah, I mean, not everyone wants to stay where they, were raised. I think it's
Yeah.
probably pretty rare that you end up like where you're like supposed to be right away. I just happen to still be in the area where I'm from, but who knows? Maybe it'll change.
You know what
um,
though? I lived for a long time in Seattle, and I'm not sure I would have left if I were from there. Does that make sense? I mean, I know a lot of people who grew up there and who want to leave or like leaving, but Seattle is a singular place. It's actually, I've lived a lot of places, and it's one of my favorite places I've ever lived. There's bad things about everywhere, but the amount of bad things are at least balanced, right? In Seattle, I think it's a great place to live. So I could understand not wanting to run away screaming, you know.
yeah, I mean, I've gotten to see a lot of changes in Seattle. Yeah,
Yes,
my
yeah. I
opinions have changed definitely in the past 10 years of it. It's definitely a completely different city than it was even then. I've
yeah.
been here for like 14 years, but I'm just from Tacoma, so not far.
Oh, yeah.
um, Somebody in the chat, I believe you kind of touched on this, but why did you choose to move to Seattle of all places? I think you said because it was like rainy. Other
Okay, so
reasons too.
part of it was the one person I knew who lived there was my best friend from when we were children. My friend Diane lived there, right? So I thought, okay, uh, even if I only know one person, at least it's this one person. The other reason is because I visited once on a school field trip to play on a ferry boat. We went to, play at Tillicum Village, the native island that you can go to on a ferry in Seattle. And I played, in a kids orchestra thing once there. And I remember just thinking it was the most beautiful place in the world. And we went to Pike's Place Market. I was like, oh my God, I want to live here. So it's kind of stuck in my head. And then on top of that, this is going to sound really weird, but Frasier, I really liked Frasier when I was a kid. And I was like, I want to go to a coffee shop every day and hang out with people who have beautiful apartments. And like, I don't know why I thought I was going to be in the social class that was depicted in that show. But, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I don't think that's quite a realistic portrayal of
No,
Seattle.
no, 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 no,
even
no.
even
But
at the time, I mean, I guess you're
no,
maybe a very
no,
specific, like
not at all.
idealized form of person.
Well, but not
But
even because they're all like, except for Roz, the producer, they're all pretty unlikable people in that show. In real life, if you met those people, they'd drive you insane. So I don't know why. It was just like this romanticism of the place. And then I got there and, you'd have to live in Las Vegas to understand that even after all the changes that Seattle went through, when I got there, people were already like, hey, it's ruined. um, it was still like a light year difference from where I was from. You know what I mean? So it's like it might not be what it was, but you have to compare things to other things, sometimes.
Definitely not Las Vegas. I will give it that.
Yeah, yeah, give and take.
Okay, so you moved to New York after Seattle. So what brought you there?
Work. So I do have to say that between the two, I lived in Los Angeles for a while. I've lived in a lot of places. And yeah, I very commonly skip over that step and go straight to New York. So I live in New York right now, but I did live in Los Angeles for a short period between the two.
Okay. And you mentioned that you work on like podcasts or something?
Yeah, internet radio. There is a woman in the chat right now. She's lurking, called Jen on Air. And Jen on Air, as depicted by her screen name on Twitch, is on air. She's the host of the show that we do, which is a classic rock radio show.
Oh, that's fun. What do you do for the show?
I'm the producer of the show. And Jen, which is but classic rock. Guess what classic rock is? It is the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Right?
Oh,
That's
I
the
know
prep.
it's rough to think about
Right.
that.
Oh yeah,
Just
we
like
play the Killers, man. We play
remembering what it used to mean, like listening to
yeah,
classic rock radio when I was listening to the radio, like when I was like, I don't know, 14 or something, was like all like
yeah.
70s music, like 60s music. And now it's
It was the
like,
Rolling Stones when I was a kid. Classic rock was the Rolling Stones.
yeah,
Now it's the Goo Goo Dolls. Like I don't know, but
yeah.
that's what we do. That's what we do.
The passage of time.
She's an amazing host.
Spooky.
Like she's great on a microphone. This is, she's great on a microphone. This is probably embarrassing her to no end. Hearing me talk instead of her.
Does is there like a cutoff now? Like, do they still play like super old music, I guess, at this point? Like 60s and 70s?
Here's what's
It's
interesting.
like ultra
Yeah,
classic at this
yeah.
point.
The thing is about
Or is it all
classic
classic?
rock. Yeah, the thing about, I mean, oh God, I didn't know this was going to be a subject, but the thing about classic rock is that you can't deny the roots of the genre, right? So you have to, even like the late 40s, early 50s, right? That is forever in rock and roll. You can't not play the Beatles. You can't not play Little Richard. You can't not, you know what I mean? So maybe you don't play as much of it anymore because it's so old. I mean, think about like in 30 years, Little Richard will have songs that are 100 years old. It's just insane to think about, but that's where you're at. That's when the genre started. You can't not reflect it.
Do you think we'll come up with different words for it? Like as the time gaps increase, like once we're
Yeah,
at the point where Little Richard is 100 years old, like that's a lot
yeah,
of
it's going to
time.
become classical rock, and then we'll have Baroque rock and contemporary rock. you know, we
Yeah, we'll
gotta, we
just go
gotta,
through all the classical genres, and that'll just be the equivalent of that. I don't
yeah,
know.
we've got to start with something else.
So, how long have you lived in New York now?
Oh, okay. Well, I moved here at a fantastic time, which was right when COVID started, like in the end of 2019. I got about 6 months of New York pre-COVID, and then I got like total lockdown. The freakiest, I mean, trains with no one on them, like streets with no one in them, just bizarre time in New York, like that will probably never be again, shutting down the entire city. Um, yeah, that's when I got here.
Someone in the chat says it'll probably be like oldies versus classic rock. I guess, yeah, that does, oldies tends to
Yeah.
refer to like before that period. Anyway,
Yeah, you're gonna have
off
to wait.
topic.
You can't call it oldies while the people are around because no one wants to be called an oldie. Do you know what I mean? That's not an affectionate term. That's how
Yeah, maybe
you know,
not.
I don't want to be in an oldies section of something.
For sure. Maybe we just need to like rebrand that entirely.
Yeah.
Just
I,
label them
I'll
by like, like decades or something. I don't know. I
yeah.
guess
When you're
people wouldn't
coming
do
up
that.
with a new name for this, come up with a name for that too.
Exactly. I'll just name everything while I'm at it. Um, So, what else have you been up to in New York? I mean, you said you only got like 6 months of pre-COVID time, but yeah, what else do you do with your time?
I don't have any time. I'm the least free time person I've ever met, right? So I decided during COVID, I was like, hey, you know, it'd be great is if I went back to school because I moved so much, right, that I never finished my degree. So I should just go back to school and finish it, you know, even though I've moved so many times that I have to retake a whole bunch of classes, right? So let's just do that, right? So I've been doing that. And you know, as you read in my bio that I need to redo, um, I play in a band called the Wants. The Wants are a very ingenuitive band, right? They don't want to just get up and play songs. They want to get up and play songs, but like chop measures and pieces and change key signatures and do all this other stuff. So it's a lot of work, you know, and it's good because it's very creative, very interesting music. And the singer is, um, you know, insane to watch. He's an amazing performer, and the drummer is just like totally inventive and really cool. So it's a fun band to play in, but you know, it's you don't get spare time. You know, you have to practice that music. So you know, despite my best efforts of phoning things in, it's impossible, you know, and then I, you know, have a job. So yeah, I don't have free time. This is my
Yeah,
free time. Hanging out here.
yeah. I guess like the other band that would qualify as something else you're doing too.
Yeah, that qualifies. Yeah. That
So,
qualifies.
do you want to tell us about this band a little bit, The Wants?
Oh yeah, I mean, gosh, the Wants have been around for a lot longer than I've been here. So they're like I said, a very interesting band. The singer was previously in a band called Bodega, which is somewhat popular. Again, I'm not from Brooklyn, so for me, these were all new things to me, new bands. And he's, you know, a very interesting songwriter, a very interesting person in general. And his girlfriend, Madison Carroll, who is, they're both named Madison, by the way, that gets confusing. His girlfriend is Madison Carroll, and she is a fantastic artist, right? Photographer, film photographer, and just visionary. So the aesthetic of the band is very cohesive, very interesting. I really, if you haven't checked them out on Instagram, you should check out the Wants on Instagram because the um just the overall visual aspect of it is something like I can't do, you know, because she's just brilliant, you know, and she has a big hand in that stuff. And I look forward to, you know, I'm hoping to work with her for NightNight to do some photographs because she's just brilliant, you know. So it's a good collective of people, you know, who just want to push things forward, make things interesting, and you know, kind of take the whole rock equation in another direction. So it's not just like, you know, not to default it because it is a beautiful thing when people are just playing guitars and drums and bass, but you know, do something different with it, have a lot of synthesizers involved, bring in an electronic component to it. So that kind of is a through line through both bands, except for in Wants we have an actual drummer, we have an actual guitar player, and I play like an actual bass, which I none of that happens in NightNight.
But it is still like a synth heavy project.
There's a lot of synth in it, yeah, but it's definitely a blend. It's more punk and more post punk and more like aggressive than, you know, my stuff on its own, for sure.
Cool. I'll have to check that out. I haven't heard of this band before. Let's see. So, have you actually played live gigs as Night Night or
Our
with this other project?
Oh, with the Wants, I played a bunch of live gigs. We toured the Midwest with Nation of Language. We were support for Nation of Language, which are another really great Brooklyn, New York band, really cool band. They were just on Colbert last week, like amazing band. Um, so we toured with them and did a whole bunch of dates, and then we came back to New York and have done a bunch of shows since then. We just played last week at a place called Sultan Room with a band called Native Son. So we play Wants plays pretty frequently. NightNight, we are just starting now to play live. Your live stream was our first live show. And
Yeah, I thought so.
yeah, your live stream was our first live show. So our next one is February 25th in Brooklyn. And then the ones after that are in Germany.
Cool. When are you playing in Germany?
Okay, so it's festivals, right? So there's a theoretical date, and then there's a date when it was actually going to happen. So it's supposed to be in April and May, and this is for Plage Noir and Wave Gothic Treffen, the festivals. But everyone's got their fingers crossed that everything's going according to plan with COVID and whatever else is happening in the world.
Yeah, it's definitely all up in the air at this point. All the time, it seems like, for the indefinite future, unfortunately.
Right? Yeah,
Um,
we can be hopeful, but
yeah. So, when was this tour that you went on with the Wants?
um, September of last year,
Okay,
September,
so
October.
recent.
Yeah, recent. Yeah.
Yeah, those look like some pretty promising European festivals. So hopefully that works out. Um,
Yeah.
would that be
Uh,
with Sherry Very joining you?
yeah. Yeah, of course. I don't want to
So,
go
so
by
she's like she's in the band, like live band, like all the
when
time.
whenever whenever she can, which is, we try to plan it so that I don't double book her. We try to plan it so she's not doing a void vision thing at the same time. But like something like going to Germany and playing those dates, like we both want to do that. That's going to be fun. And I wouldn't want to go without her for something like that.
For sure. Well, hopefully that works out. When is that supposed to be?
April and May. There's one in April and there's one in May.
Cool. Um, yeah. So, do you have any live gigs? You said you may have something coming up in Brooklyn for Night Night.
Yeah. So February 25th, we're playing in a place called Eris in Brooklyn, Williamsburg. And it's going to be cool. There's still, again, COVID, we're still fleshing out the other acts on the bill, but it's definitely, if you're into like dark wave, dark music, the vibe is definitely going to be that. So it's a safe bet, safe show up. If you're into that, if you kind of want to dance, but you also kind of want to cry, it's definitely the place to be in Brooklyn that night.
When and where are these shows? You can go ahead and give them
Um,
a little promo here.
yeah, February 25th, Eris, Eris in Brooklyn. Yeah, look at Steve. Steve knows. Steve's saying it's an
Yes,
outstanding
Steve said
venue.
New York. I have some people there, so maybe they'll see you there.
Oh, I'd
uh,
love to see you guys.
apparently, Eris is next door to the NightNight Japanese restaurant. Did you know that?
What? No, I did not. Oh my God, I need to take a picture in front of that
Yeah,
place.
that's like screaming promo image right there before
Oh my
show.
God. I need to talk to them. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Steve.
Cool.
Yeah, really cool place. They do all sorts of stuff. It's not just shows. Like they do comedy, they do burlesque, they do like, you know, the whole gambit of live events.
Nice. And you haven't had any live shows so far with Night Night. It was just a live stream
Right. Yeah.
on this
Yeah. A
channel.
lot. There's a lot of, with I know you know this because you also perform music, but like with electronic music, when you're not going to use a bunch of people, there's a whole bunch of pre-production you have to figure out, right? You have to figure out like what are you playing, what are you sequencing, how are you using the sounds, what are you going to play, in real life, what are you going to use, any tracks, what are you going to sing, what are you going to not sing. It's a lot, because when you record things you have an infinite amount of tracks and an infinite amount of production ability, right? And the good thing, I did say the good thing about the record is that Sylvia, when I was working with her, kind of didn't want to take away the live aspect of recording, right? So God bless her for that, because it made it recreatable in real life. I didn't have 100 tracks to try and recreate. There weren't that many things that we needed to figure out who's going to cover it and how we're going to cover it. Um, so that was good. It did take a lot of time though to program everything, put the sounds in, meet up with Sherry and figure out who's sending MIDI to who, all this kind of stuff. That's just annoying technical stuff that takes a long time. That's probably why we hadn't played till then, and the pre-production of it was like months of me figuring it out.
Yeah, it's definitely a whole different ballpark playing something live versus producing it in a studio. And yeah, it takes a whole different, mindset of how to set it up, especially for electronic music.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about how the music is made a little bit like tech wise, just like how you
Oh,
produce?
sure. Oh yeah, sure. So let's think about it. A song, I write a lot of songs different ways. Sometimes I start with like sort of a melody, other times I start on keyboard or guitar. But I really focus on this sort of old school way of writing that, I always idolized Martin Gore, when I was younger. And the idea that he would start with just the piano and a melody, or a guitar and a melody, and all the other stuff is kind of like filled in, right? So my music very rarely starts with like uh an arpeggiator, or like a crazy drum loop or anything like that I build on, like a lot of electronic music does. Most of my music starts with a song, and then I produce the rest of it as like a soundscape for the song. So I'll write the skeleton of something, and then I'll do that second part where I'm like, okay, well, this is about whatever, and it makes me feel lonely or makes me feel whatever, and then I kind of create sounds that reinforce that idea, and then put it all together. And that's kind of why it's such a soundtracky type of music, or why it's such a film score type of music, because that's a similar approach, right? You have a character, you have a story, and then you write the music to that. So that's kind of how I go about it. I have a lot of different synthesizers and machines and things that I use for different stuff. But I do a lot of resampling. So I will play around with a keyboard, or play around with a drum machine, play around with something once I've got a sort of song written, and then I'll take that and I'll record it, and I will resample it. So I'll put it into a sampler or into a computer, and then play it back at different speeds and different tunings and stuff to make a song, right? And then that's when you come into the issue of playing that live, right? Because you did it one time, you can never do it again, and now you've sampled it and pitched it. So like it's, you've got all sorts of weird stuff going on. And that's how it happens. Is yeah, a lot of experimentation, write a song and then experiment.
Right. So, are there any like major themes in the Love Decayed album, like lyrically,
Oh,
or
yeah, for sure. I mean,
we'll talk a little bit more when we're going into
yeah,
each track, but
yeah, like I mean, the name of the album, right? Left Decayed, the
yeah,
title
pretty
track.
straightforward.
It's there's not a lot of hiding what it's about. It's a miserable record, I mean, I'm really thankful I don't feel like I did when I wrote it and when I recorded it, because I was miserable. It's about, there's two themes, right? One theme is like hopelessly wanting to be with someone you can't be with, for one reason or another. It's just never going to happen. So you just have to keep looking at them and wondering why you can't be happy, and wondering what's wrong with you. And then the other one is about being with someone who is horrible, right? In a relationship that is awful. So there's like two sides of it. It's like, oh, I could be happy if I were with this person, but for some reason that's not working, and then, well, I can never be happy with this person because they're awful. They're terrible, and is it me? Am I terrible? Is that why this is a bad situation? Because I'm just as bad as this person, or is it them? You know, and if it's them, why do I care? Why do I want to be here? This is awful. Awful is, a common word, but yeah, that's kind of the two sides of it. It's like two very there's no other word for it, two very abusive versions of love, you know.
All right. Yeah, that's a good
Feel good hit
explanation of
of the
things.
summer. Feel good hit of the summer.
Well, that's okay. I don't need all music to be I mean, I don't think many of us here want our music to be cheerful.
I don't think so either.
It's what draws us to this chat.
Yeah.
Well, I play a lot of dance music too, but like gloomy dance music. So, you know. Okay,
There are
so
remixes. There are
oh yeah,
remixes.
Void Vision remixed the first single, right?
She
Um,
remixed
maybe it's too late.
she remixed Maybe It's Too Late. And then we have there's a whole record of remixes coming out in February too. I probably
Ooh,
that's like, yeah, we've got remixes from Clack, Aesthetic Perfection, like a whole bunch of people. So
sounds cool. Yeah, I'm interested to see what like a little bit more of like a. I mean, I guess I don't know what the remixes are like if they are danceable or not. But I mean, I know Clack is like EBM, so
yeah, they're all
a
more
different sound
danceable.
anyway.
They're all more danceable than the originals. I'll say that. They're all more danceable than the originals.
I guess it doesn't take much really to
No,
accomplish that because it's it's a very slow, dreary album.
yeah, it is. There was a lot of channeling like My Bloody Valentine and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I was feeling and listening to a lot of the time. So um that's
Like make it slow and then slow it down even more. I think
yeah,
there was one song, maybe the title track, Love Decayed. You were saying that people were suggesting that you make it faster, but you were like, I like
yeah.
it slow.
Yeah, I like it slow. And then Sylvia had to play drums at 65 beats per minute, which you gotta is actually really hard. It's hard to play that slow. It's very hard.
Oh, I believe it. um, so I'm just going to ask a couple more questions and then we're going to get into the album itself. Going to do
Awesome.
a play by play here. Um, just a few other questions though. So, do you already talked about your future plans a little bit. You have this remix album coming out and you have live shows.
Yeah.
When is the remix planned to come out?
Let me take a look at my calendar because it's February and it is February 25th. February 25th.
Oh, so the
Yeah.
same date as your show in New York.
Yes. Yeah. That was the plan, actually. It was supposed to be for the remix record. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that. And also, do you have any advice for people wanting to start making music or like about promoting themselves or anything?
Oh, geez. Well, promoting is really weird now, right? This is like the wild west of promoting music online. A million people have a strategy and they don't particularly work. The only strategy that works for sure is having a shitload of money and dumping it into like advertising or getting somebody who has a bunch of followers to play your music. Right. That's like the only surefire thing. And it's like, I don't even recommend you do it because it's sleazy and, it'll get you something for a second and then maybe never again. It's just like you got to, unfortunately, what it is now is people follow people more than they follow music, right? So it's like they have to want to be interested in you and what you're doing. So I guess what I would say is just be prolific. Being prolific works, right? You put out music consistently, you promote your music, you let people know where to get it, you make it accessible to people, and then you do all sorts of media. So you do photos, you do videos, keep on track as much as you can with socials and interacting with people. I mean, my own personal thing would be that you answer people when they reply or when they talk to you. That's the thing that's worked the best for me to reach people is they send me a message and they say they like something and I reply to them. And it's weird because a lot of people don't, and I think it's weird. Like, I get if you can't because you get tens of thousands of messages a day, but until you do, it's worth taking a second and thanking somebody for listening to something. I think that's helpful.
That's good advice. Yeah, I definitely struggle with keeping out my inbox most of the time because I get a very high amount of messages all the time. It's not a diss if I'm not responding to you. Disclaimer.
No, no, it's
But
not. It's
it
not
is
a
a
diss
good
at
thing to
all.
do if you can. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you can. Yeah. It's definitely not a diss. And I definitely spend too much time replying to people. Like I agree with that, but I try, especially if someone listens to the album, I try to reply.
Yeah, no, that's a definitely good advice for people. Be involved with your fans and interact with them. You're correct that people often follow personalities more than just like their regular interests. It's like
Yeah.
the interest is also part of it, but you have to show them why you want them to come back. Essentially.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I just had one more, or no, I have two more. So which artists are you currently listening to the most right now?
Low. That last record that Low put out is really brilliant. I'd say that would be the thing I listen to the most of new music that just came out, that's probably what I listen to the most.
Yeah, I saw Low here in Seattle maybe like 5 years ago, I think. Yeah, they toured with Slow Dive, and it was a really good show. I can't say that I'm like, I don't know, it's maybe a little bit too slow for me.
I
I
know
mean,
it's
it's definitely a mood, but
yeah,
I personally
yeah,
want things to be like a little bit more driving. But like,
yeah,
yes, definitely a very very good show. Seeing it live definitely made me understand it a lot more. Um,
yeah. I do have to say, okay, on the more driving, upbeat, well, only somewhat upbeat, I did say the new Boy Harsher record is also great. I've been listening to that too. Not brand new, but somewhat new.
yeah, I mean, I can see the shoegaze and like low sort of influence on the stuff you're doing now. It's definitely about scaling back those BPMs and thinking more about space
Yeah,
to
yeah.
create
That's what
atmosphere.
see, but you get it, right? It's not about things being slow. It's about having space to put all this stuff in. Like some of these sounds are giant, right? You have these like big analog keyboards, you have these giant reverbs and weird delays and stuff. And you can't, you make that too fast and it all just runs into each other and becomes a mess. You got to give stuff space to breathe. A lot of this stuff sounds alive. A lot of these keyboards and these machines, they sound alive. You got to give them space to breathe.
For sure. Okay, so I have one more question for you, and then we're going to start listening to this album, Love Decayed, which
All
is
right.
the first one from NightNight. In case you're joining us, we're chatting with Yasmin from NightNight right now. It's her first album release, Love Decayed, just came out last week. We had an excellent set on Strict Tempo last Thursday. If you missed it, please catch up with us. You won't regret it. But yeah, some slow, dreary Darkwave. And that live set also featured Sherry Berry, also known as Void Vision, on keys and backing vocals. All right, cool. Thanks to everyone in the chat. If you have any questions for us at any point, just go ahead and leave them in the chat. And if you want to be sure that I see it, you can go ahead and use the highlighter tool and the channel points below the chat. You'll see a little rose icon and you can highlight your message that way. And that way it will stick out to me. Yay. Okay, so I already lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so one more question, and what was it? Maybe that was it.
I think that was.
That was. I already prefaced that with one more question. Okay, just one more and one more and one more. Okay, yes. So we are actually going to start listening to the album now, and it's called Love Decayed. The first track is Different.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that was the opening track of Love Decayed, which is called Different. And it gave us a little bit of difference there in that it changed tempos on us. Do you want to talk a little bit about this track?
Yeah. This one's kind of it's a good example of that experimentation thing. I had that melody in my head for this and that line, I wish things were different, but they're not. And I thought that would be a good thing to talk about in a song. That's really just self-talk, that song, like, how I was feeling and the truth. Like, that's just basically saying the truth. And then with the tempo and with the vibes of that song, it really was this one drum loop that I made in this specific machine in the Tempest, the Dave Smith Tempest. And then when I got halfway through it or so, I was like, well, I wanted to just channel this idea of being like very nervous and like, scared. That's what the second half of it is, sort of like nervous, scared. And it's the same beat, but it's the same beat reversed and faster. And I automated it so that the computer played the machines and the computer followed this line of speed from like the original speed to this new speed that I, drew in by hand. So, I can't ever replicate that exactly as I did it, unless I had that same file, that same computer, that same tempo file, and I used it, but that's, more complicated than I want to be in real life. So that's another one that we had to make some decisions on how to play live because we wanted to keep that tempo change, and that's really the point of it. It's you're supposed to be listening and you kind of get used to it, and the things that you're saying you get used to, and then when you get partially through it, then it starts feeling nervous and the energy starts changing and you don't know what's going on. And yeah, that's the vibe of that. An interesting thing about that song is I was living with a woman named Arista. She was my roommate at the time. And I asked her, she was like, oh, it's really cool. You're making music in the bedroom. And I was like, hey, can you like sing into your phone, just go, ah, or something? Cause I don't want, me over myself. Right. Which is a weird thing about, I don't like the idea of like 6 tracks of my own voice. I think it's like, it's just not for me. So I had her do that. And so that beginning where you hear the that's like her on a phone, and then I just pitched it into a sampler and I played her. I called it the Arista instrument. So that's her voice note.
Sorry, could you repeat that? The what instrument?
Oh, Arista. Yeah, I just named it after her.
That's her name. Okay.
Yeah, I just named it
That's
after
cute.
her. Yeah, so like if I ever ask anyone for a voice note, like, hey, can I just give a voice note of you saying this? It's probably like some devious plan to use it in a song.
Well, I like that idea. So yeah, it's cool that you were like intentional in the decision to slow it down or speed it up during the track. Test if they're listening right away.
Yeah, everything has a purpose,
Cool. Do you have anything else you want to tell us about this track?
Not really. I mean, I think everyone's been there, right? Everyone's been in a situation where they wish things were different, but they're not. They just have to deal with it.
Yep. Okay, so let's go to track number 2, which is actually one of the music videos, and I believe this one just came out, right?
Just came out. Yes, Leaves,
recently.
Right?
Yeah,
this do you want to talk about the video after we play the video or before? After.
Let's watch it first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna watch the video for Leaves now, track number 2. Okay, so we have the video for Leaves, which I believe was released very recently. You released like four music videos, sort of like in rapid-ish succession. Do you want to tell us a little bit about making this one and just the song in
Yeah.
general?
Well, this is the first one we made, which is fun. This one we made before the other videos, and
Oh, I
because
must have been
of
thinking of Ashes. Was that the most recent one?
no, this was the most recent one, but it actually came out last.
Oh,
And
okay, got it.
yeah, no, you're right. You're completely right. You did your research. You're on point. What happened was COVID. So you could notice actually from watching the video that no one is wearing a mask. So the video is from before COVID. And the idea was that that was going to be the first single on the record, and the record was going to come out really soon after we filmed it. And then all of this happened, and then everyone's like, "Don't put out an album; you won't be able to play any shows." So a lot of the record was done right before COVID. So that video got held. So that's sort of a time capsule now. That's the last train ride, the last everything I took before COVID, you know. So,
So,
let me tell
was
you
there a
about
reason to keep it last, like release it last?
what's it? Yeah, yeah. I'll before other people got involved in the record when it was going to be self-released. That was my favorite song, and that is the one that I wanted to be first. And then when I started working with a label out of Germany, No Cut, they also had an opportunity to have Chris Harms from Lord of the Lost produce a song or remix a song on the record, which was Ashes. Right. So there's you'll see if you go on some of the streaming platforms, there'll be one called Ashes Demo, and then there'll be one called Ashes. And Ashes Demo is the original version of the song before it was really ever mixed or went to a studio. That was the version that Sylvia heard, and Sylvia and I worked on. Chris Harms produced a version of the same song, which is the version that's on the album. So when that came out, the label, being German, said, "Hey, Chris Harms is a big deal in Germany. Lord of Lost is a huge band in Germany, and this should be the single that you start with." So things got flipped around with the perspective of Germany, which I mean, I've never spent time in Germany, so I don't know very much about it other than they really seem to like my music, So I'm happy to flip the order that things come out in, but that's why this was pushed later.
Yes, I hear they have pretty good taste over there in Germany. uh,
Yeah,
it's,
that's what
it's,
I
it's
hear.
a wink because a lot of my viewers are from there. I think it's like
Oh,
it's like number two country. I mean, I'm primarily like an EBM DJ, so that's like
oh yeah. Oh yeah,
mostly
yeah.
German.
I
All
think
right.
that they for even for pop, because a lot of this stuff is considered dark pop is what I see a lot in German pertaining to this music. They just have a very open mind about what fits in that category. So I admire them. I appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad to see that it's getting attention internationally because it's really good. So, what was the first track that it was decided that would go first instead?
Oh, Ashes.
Okay,
Ashes was
that's
the
right.
first single on the record. I do real quick do want to talk about the woman who produced the video for Leaves, or Melissa, who's like Riot Girl Productions is her name in Brooklyn. She teaches film at. Someone said in the comments that it looked arty, right? Which is interesting because she's a film teacher at Brooklyn College. So and she's just really like a punk rock girl, really, who is into film. And I thought, I don't tell
Egg
people when
Girl
I,
Productions.
yeah, right, Girl Productions. And the thing about videos and myself, whereas a lot of artists have a lot of hands-on control of their videos, and they're very hands-on with their aesthetic. I just have things that will not tolerate, and then everything else, right? So like they're like, don't superimpose flames over me, don't put skulls on things, you know what I mean? Those are things that I'm like allergic to and I will not deal with, right? But if I pick you and I want to do a video with you, I don't really tell you what to do, you know, outside of if you touch one of these things that I'm just like, oof, you know. I pick you because I trust you and I let you do what you want, right? And that's kind of why the videos don't have a cohesive theme, right? Because I pick somebody, I go, I love you that you do this, and what would you do? And then they show me what they would do. And if it's not something that I just can't deal with, I accept it. Right. So that's, you know, I let Melissa do that. And that was her vibe of the whole thing. She made a story out of it.
So there are certain tropes though. You're like, I'm not going there. Like, no
Yeah.
flames, no
No,
skulls.
right. Those are like the easy ones. You know, there's also other stuff that like I just personally am not comfortable with, and I'm happy for other people to do it, but it just wouldn't be, I just wouldn't do it, you know? As long as I'm not.
Sure. I mean, you want it to match like your music and the aesthetic and what you're going for and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And so as long as it's even with maybe it's too late in the video Sherry did, you know, I didn't really, we just we did that in one day, and I let her edit it. I didn't give her any notes on it, you know. um it's one way of doing things, right? It's less stressful, but in other ways you have to accept things that like I think a lot of people don't want to accept. You know, I kind of let things go that I think a lot of people would not be able to let go.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's definitely a leap of faith to give someone else like that level of control over something that represents you artistically also.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, has she worked on other things? I mean, you said she was a film teacher, but does she
Yeah,
make other music videos?
yeah, she's done a lot of stuff. I don't know off the top of my head. I saw some
Yeah.
examples, you
Please
know.
list her resume.
Yeah, I know. Well, certain people I can, like, you know, with Sylvia, I can list a lot of her resume, but um I knew her personally. You know, we had done some work together like for day job stuff. And I just thought that, you know, I think the most important thing is the person likes your music, right? If someone's that into your music and that into you, then, you know, I'll give them a shot. If it's really bad, of course, I'm not going to like put it out, even if it's bad, you know, but that wasn't the case. You know, I liked what she did.
Yeah, that's definitely a hard conversation to have. Just like, I don't want to use this for X reasons, like trying not to offend someone.
Right. But
Which
that's,
I
you know,
guess is why to do the work to pick the person that is going to know your vision and represent you well.
right. And that's like the double-edged sword of that approach. The like, here you go, take it approach is that there's a good percentage of the time you have to go back to the person and say, like, hey, I'm glad you did this. It's wonderful, but I can't use it. Right. So that happens a lot. It happened a lot with the remix album, you know. So the remixes that made it onto the remix album, there are a lot more that didn't.
So, how many remixes would you say that you didn't feel like were, you know, quite up to snuff?
10, 10 to 12.
So, did you ask all these people specifically to work with, or did you kind of like put like a call for like people to submit them? Like, how did that work out exactly?
It was a combination. So there's a couple, you know, there were some that were done by friends of mine, and some of those didn't make them. That was actually out of my control. Other people listened to them and said, hey, like this doesn't make sense, why would you want to put this on there? And then, you know, I kind of had to agree with that. But for the people who were like more known artists who remix stuff, it just, some of it just didn't make sense. A lot of the things that didn't make it were things that were not really enough of a remix, if that makes sense. They were the same song, but like sped up a little bit, or like, you know, not a lot went into it. And that was kind of the big determining factor. The big determining factor was, did you try? You know, what kind of effort went into this? And does it sound
The
like me?
different sounding.
Yeah, does it sound like me and you? Right. And that's like really what I was looking for in a remix. Or even if it just sounds like you know, and it's just totally different, that's great. But like if it sounds like me, you know, like me through a phone or me through a pedal, like that's not, that doesn't count, that's not a remix to me. That's like not worthy of making someone listen to it as a different version of the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. So did you intentionally ask more people than you knew like you would use, like so many
No,
remixes?
no. I don't do that. No, I hope everyone makes it. you know,
You're just
no, no.
hoping for success, but you weren't like expecting to like have to take a selection of
Oh no,
them. It
no,
just
no. It's not like America's Next Top Model or anything. I'm not like pulling 1,000 people to stand in line. No, it's like I wanted 8, so we must have asked for
project
8.
remix.
Yeah, Project R.E.M. That's actually, I would really like to see that show. People who remix
Might
popular. That would be
actually
great.
be kind of hilarious. We may have just had like $1 million idea here live on the show.
I think
I mean,
I
there's
think that's
so,
a great.
so many DJs and so many producers. Like, I can imagine that would definitely be entertaining. Like, because you would get such a
I would love
variety
it.
of different stuff, and people that just really think they're amazing. That kind of a similar American Idol sense. The
Yeah,
zealous like DJ with like 10 followers who thinks they're the best ever. It's like it happens like more than you would think.
and they might be. You got to tune in
um,
Tuesday.
all right. Well, we just had our $1 million idea just now. Project remix. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing the remixes that did make the cut. And that will be out on February 25th. How many were there altogether that you chose for it?
I think it's I got to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's 8. I'm pretty sure it's like kind of a remix EP. There's 8 of them.
Cool. And you mentioned Clack, and do you know who else is on it off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the Maybe It's Too Late remix by Boyd Vision is
Oh,
on
yeah, Void Vision.
there. Clack's on there, and then also Aesthetic Perfection. The one I can remember off the top of my head is yeah, I think he did another remix of Ashes. I got to remember which song Daniel did, but yeah, he also gave us a couple remixes, and that was really cool of him.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next track, which is called Maybe It's Too Late. It's the first track I heard. And I found you through the music video for this song because I was looking for new music videos for, I've been doing like weekly broadcasts with music videos on the channel on Mondays. And I do like a monthly recap of the music videos that were released before. Anyway, I was looking for new stuff and I found your video and I was like, what is this? I've never heard of it before. It's really good. And the music video is also very aesthetically pleasing as well. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute. And it's called Maybe It's Too Late. So we have this video for Maybe It's Too Late from Night Night. This was my introduction. Oh, look, we have a pup in the mix now, a lap dog.
We are joined by Zoe the dog.
Excellent. It's a rarity on this stream. People are just used to cats nonstop in my sets.
Oh, she likes cats.
We have pup appearances sometimes in my guest sets too. Rarely in laps though, so this is a special treat.
Oh,
All right. Cool. So we have this video for Maybe It's Too Late, which was my introduction to your project, Night Nights. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? Directed by Sherry Very as well, I believe.
oh yeah. So Sherry actually did the remix for Maybe It's Too Late before she did the video. And she liked the song a lot. I loved her remix of it. And then she was like, do you have a video for this song? Because Sherry, amongst all her talents and all the other amazing things about Sherry, she is a, visual designer and she does video. She's an actual professional doing these things. And the visual aspect of things is not my forte. I'm really an audio person. So when she was like, do you have a video for this? I'd love to make a video. Knowing her aesthetic, knowing her skills, obviously I'm just like, take it, it's yours, whatever you'd like to do. But we don't live in the same city. So when Sherry and I get together, it's like a go, 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 you have 24 hours situation. That's the same thing for the live stream. That was the first show we'd ever done live. We did that really, it was really late at night, we got around to doing it and setting up and everything. So we had to do that in a day, and that's from picking the outfits to picking the place to figuring out how we're going to film it, and we didn't have anyone else to do it. It was just the two of us. So I love what she did with that video. It's fantastic that we were able to do that with a phone, and we were able to do it with just the two of us. And it says a lot to
That
her.
video was shot with a phone.
Yeah. Well, it was shot with a phone. And
At least a nice one, I'm assuming.
yeah, I mean, hashtag shot on an iPhone for sure. But like, it wasn't like we didn't have special lenses or anything like that. It was just what we had, so I think she did a great job. It's a cool video.
Yeah, that's really impressive. I mean, I don't think I would have guessed that that was like a cell phone. It looks very profesh, like very
But it looks,
professional
yeah,
aesthetic and everything.
yeah,
I-
she's a professional, and we picked some good sites. The part where I'm in the Vale and everything is actually in my basement, the same place where we filmed the live stream. Right. So that we did what we could do. But we also shot a lot of stuff that we ended up not being able to use because there were like too many people in the background, or, it's New York. So the chances of you getting usable footage at a lot of locations is not super high, unless you plan really, really well, which we didn't because we had no time. We just showed up places and like, maybe no one will be here. It didn't work all the time.
yeah, I remember
But
trying to take a selfie in like Washington Square Park when I visited a few years ago, and there was like 300 people behind me at all times, and like I was trying to get like the perfect angle in my selfie or whatever,
yeah,
and this guy came up to me and was like talking about how I couldn't take pictures of him, and I was like, but I'm just trying to take a selfie. Like, I'm sorry if you're in my there's too many people. Anyway, yes,
uh,
that does seem like an issue.
yeah, that's what it was. But we did find there's a park near my apartment that we filmed a lot of that in, and there happened to be no one there except for this one group of skater kids, and we always had to like wait for them to stop skating to film. Right. So we'd like film, and then they'd come skate their tricks and like record themselves skating tricks and then leave, and then we'd film, and that was kind of the situation.
All right. How long did it take you to film it?
Couple hours. I mean, the live shots, the outside shots took like 2 or 3 hours, and the inside shots 2 or 3 hours, plus all the scouting and stuff. So it was like a one day thing.
Someone in the chat wants to know how you sequence your videos. Do you storyboard them before you shoot them?
No, I don't do any of that. I do none of it. Um, let's see, were there any that had a storyboard? The only one that had kind of a storyboard, two of them had kind of a storyboard. Leaves had kind of a storyboard in that, Melissa was like, what the hell is this? What do you want it to be about? And I was like, well, what about two people who never really meet each other, like thinking about meeting each other, don't really meet each other, kind of like a film noir, like sad ending, no ending thing, and then she's like, got it, so there was no real storyboard of it, but then the train got involved and everything. Ashes, Frank Coleman, who shot the video for Ashes, had a storyboard. I wasn't involved in the storyboard. He just had an idea and he made it for his own benefit, right? And kind of showed it to me and said, so we're going to go here. We're going to go to the, it's a crypt, but I can't remember what the proper name of it is. We're going to go to this crypt, and it's a place where you have nuns. Anyway, we're going to go to this place and we're going to film, and this is what's going to be in it. And I was like, that sounds great. So I don't storyboard anything. I've storyboarded a couple videos that never happened.
Someone in the chat said
Cloisters.
cloisters.
100%. Yeah, cloisters. That's correct. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, the nun's cloister. That's the correct word.
All right. So, I mean, you didn't actually direct any of these videos. You've been working with people directing them.
No, yep. I let them go.
And like, yeah, so you wouldn't say that you had much like artistic influence in the direction of the videos, like
outside of vetoing specific things.
Sure, that counts. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one video.
What not to do.
Yeah, like one video where someone did something with money. They put like dollar bills in it or money, and I was like, no money. Stuff like that. But
yeah, I can see that being weird.
Yeah, people interpret things differently, and that's okay.
Yeah, totally. So Sherry, did she just like offer to make this video? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, no, she did the remix
after
and then
doing the remix.
So yeah,
and she should work on this video.
She wanted to do the video because she liked the song, and it was like a situation where I think that she wanted to like make a consistent sort of thing through the song, the video, and the remix.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I've heard the remix actually beyond just your live performance of it. So I'm looking forward to hearing the recorded version as well.
Oh yeah, but I think it's really, really good. She like, like I said, we get each other, so it's different. Like that sounds like it could have, it's a dancier, more up tempo version of something that would have been on the record. Like she's not thrown any stuff out of left field. It's crazy into it. We understand each other. So I love her remix.
Sorry, I got distracted. I had to ban someone. That rarely ever happens here. I forgot I took like the followers only thing off the chat. So
I just looked down and saw deleted. I'm like, oof.
Yep. Bye-bye. It was just like, I don't know, a spammy link of some kind. I didn't see it.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Okay. No worries. Doing my mod thing. All right. So maybe, do you want to talk about like the actual track, like making it, or like, I mean, the meaning of this track, I feel like it's pretty transparent. There's a lot of romantic strife throughout this album.
Yeah, same thing. It's a situation. This is one of the, not a bad person, but a bad situation. A lot of why can't this be? It seems like a good thing. And I think everyone's been in that situation too. When I wrote this song, I thought that this was the best song I ever wrote at the time. Because I thought that it was poppy in a way, like people would like it. It was more danceable than a lot of my other music, and it was still had the same through line. It was still gloomy and had a good purpose of existence, So I really like this song. It's one of my favorite songs, and like people who know me really well, this is one of their favorite songs on the album.
What would you say the best song you've written now is? Because you said at the time you thought it was your best, but do you think a different one is better now? Or just your favorite, I guess. Maybe not like better, but
Um, I my favorite song now from the record is the title track, and that's why I named it after the title track, because I to me that song sums everything up, and it is also my favorite one. And I wouldn't have known that until the last step, until I went to Sylvia's studio and recorded the guitars on it, because the original version didn't have guitars on it. So when that one ended up having all these big guitars and the bass, I played actual bass on that and live drums and everything, then I thought, well, this is like what I thought in my head. This is, exactly what I wanted. So I think for myself, that's the song that I like the most. But it is also extremely slow and extremely long. So, is it the best song I wrote? I don't know. I think so.
okay. Well, we are going to move on to the next track, which actually also has a music video. We are just on a roll here with the music videos. And then I think there's a couple without them afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
like the last like 4 or 5 tracks don't have them. So
Yeah.
just
I don't think
all clustered in this part. But yeah, so we're gonna watch the video for Ashes now.
at the cloisters.
Ashes fell from cigarettes like snow upon your lips. Neon lights illuminated the veins inside your wrist. Words you uttered follow me like a wound that doesn't heal. I read it twice to make sure it was real.
Okay, so we have Ashes, the first single, I believe, released from this album, Love Decayed. And we have NightNight here, Yasmin from NightNight, here telling us about the album.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned this was the video that somebody made and like had like a storyboard and everything for it. Was it this one?
Yeah, Frank Coleman. So Frank is this really cool guy who has a long history in theater. And his wife and himself are like very involved in theater in New York City, and have a long history, like through family members, through decades of really important cinema history. And he's like super into horror movies and just the history of cinema in general. And it's like going to his place is insane. You see like Bela Lugosi things and, just like real artifacts, not just like posters, like real scripts and, signed photographs and all sorts of things of these, legendary people in movie making. And he just is also into old school computer graphics and 3D cameras and all this like sort of new cutting edge, weird, interesting stuff. So that video he filmed on a 3D camera. So you put the camera in the middle of the room and it would, take a 360 shot. So, there are a lot of people, like there's a lot of stuff that was inevitably not able to be taken out of the film because it took a total circular shot of a public place. So it's a real weird video, and it's just really cool. The colors that he chose and his like way of seeing things is just totally different than anything I would have done, and then that's why I love it so much. It's a really crazy video. There's a lot of weird green screen going on. It's all over the place, but he's just so creative and interesting and ingenuitive in the way that he thinks about things.
Yeah, it's got like a pretty psychedelic feel to it. Like you're almost kind of like a kaleidoscope in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he would have me do things. He's like, "Hey, can you like take this and rip it up?" And I'm like, "Okay." I just did what he said. I didn't really know why we were doing it. And then when I saw it when it was done, I was like, "Oh, okay, wow, that's what you did with that." Like I would never have known.
And this person makes music videos often, or like films, or what do they do primarily?
I think he's mostly involved in live theater, right? But I'm sure in the past he's done music videos and he's done music too. He's a drummer as well. So he's got a long history, and another person who I can't name their entire resume because he's just done a lot. But he's tagged in all the videos on Instagram that of Ashes. So if you want to take a look at his profile, take a look at the stuff he did. These people have long, cool histories in their own right.
Yeah, I guess I should have briefed you. I will be requiring resumes for all of the directors of your music videos.
I should have got a bunch of 18-year-olds to do this. So it would just be like, yeah, they did this video. They've done this video and 5 TikTok videos.
Their first project.
Yeah, this is their first project.
I've been thinking about making a TikTok account recently because a lot of people have told me it's like the only social media platform with like real growth, and it's like a video oriented platform, right? So it's kind of funny to me though, because I've always thought of it as like, a platform for sort of like younger people doing things that I wouldn't do to promote like my like weird underground shows, but
Yeah.
I guess
Well,
the times are changing.
Well, you never know what people are going to be interested in, right? So I have a TikTok. It's not a very exciting TikTok, but I post like, parts of my videos that I'm going to post anyway. And then I've also like will post funny, ironic things, but nothing crazy. Like, I'm not about to like do a dance competition or anything, but yeah, I'll just post a shorter version of something that I would post on Instagram or on Facebook.
Are there people using your songs on TikTok?
No, not yet. I think there's a lot of them that are TikTokable though. I think, especially if you do it in a dramatic irony way. I think maybe it's too late could definitely, you know, be for a lot of things that it could be too late for in a like tragic, funny way on a video.
Yeah, I heard from our guest last week on the interview show, Mellow Code, that you can just search for a song, or you can like search for an artist, and then you can also like search for like kind of like how it is on Instagram, where you can look like up music by just name and see what comes up for that title.
Oh
So
wow.
I
Yeah,
guess in his case, he had a Russian EP. So it was like people in Russia were specifically looking up the word for vampire in Russian and then coming up with his song that was called that.
oh wow.
So it just got used in a bunch of videos because it met like that search criteria. It was like people were looking for that very specific thing. And then they put a bunch of vampire fangs on their cats in adorable cat videos with his song.
I like that.
So maybe TikTok is a good promotional tool. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Don't change yourself, but try it. Can't hurt you.
Anyway, so this video, Ashes. When did you make it, and how long did it take?
This is another okay, so it's a theme, right? We shoot all the videos in 1 or 2 days. This was 2 days. One day we went and it was too dark. Like, because the cloisters are not lit artificially. They're, real sunlight illuminates these spaces, they're
Lit
hundreds
from
of years old.
within.
Yeah, so the first day we went, it was too crowded and too dark. So we had to go back and do it again. But the actual shooting was a day of shooting. And then Frank took a while to edit it, but not like a crazy while, I'd say a month. The whole thing was done because again, these I'm not in the position to hire somebody to do this full time. So, they do it when they can do it. And he was amazing in getting it done at all. He's like I said, it was very cool. Very few revisions, very few things to say about it. It's just psychedelic, crazy video.
Yeah, I think it turned out really interesting. It kind of has like a different aesthetic than your other videos do, which
Yeah.
I guess I don't really know how to describe this difference. I guess a little bit more like gothy and moody looking. This one has like a little bit more of a, out there artistic presence.
Yeah.
Than anything like more like noir-y sort of.
Yeah. Well, this is the only one with a bit of irony, the only one that has like any actual real gothic imagery in it, with the cloisters and the the coffins and whatnot, which was
I guess I didn't think about that part.
Yeah, which wasn't really on
purpose. All the
purpose.
colors and everything though are very like vibrant, and there's a lot of like moving images and whatnot versus the more like slow paced ones.
Yeah, that's what's kind of crazy about it, really. The juxtaposition between the two things.
Yeah, it's an interesting combination. I like it though. I think it turned out really well. I mean, I love all of your videos. They're all really good.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you have anything you wanted to say about like the actual song itself?
I mean, we kind of went over it, but there's two versions of the song: the original version of the song, and then the version that you hear there in the video is the version that Chris Harms produced. So Chris added a little bit of Lord of the Lost into this, in my opinion. It's got the some guitars in it. It's I don't actually, let me think about it, if there were keyboards or guitars, but I think they're guitars. And then actual real drum samples or real drums, rather than drum machine in there. So it's a heavier song than a lot of the other songs on the record. And that's, from his touch. And that's it's also a decidedly German sort of touch to the song, which is cool. And it's a really heavy, very sad song. So, it works.
So, as far as like the instrumentation on the album, did you make everything on it?
There are a few exceptions. So in this song, obviously the instrumentation that Chris added to this song, Chris did. And then in Love Decayed, the song Love Decayed, Sylvia Massey played drums, live drums. Everything else, yeah, it was either me or a sample of something. Like I did my friend singing into the phone. That was another one. But yeah, for the most part.
Which track was that in?
Different.
Okay, cool. All right, so we are going to move on to the next track, which is On His Mind.
Okay.
There's a line between love and hatred, and my darling, you walk that line. Turn back to where you've come from. Turn back the hands of time. Oh, I fear for you, for what he will do when he gets you on his mind. Oh, I fear for you, for what he will do. You're not leaving here alive. There's a line between brave and stupid, and my darling, you've crossed that line. You've seen his tragic endings. You think your turn will turn out fine. Oh, I fear for you, for what he will do when he gets you on his mind. Oh, I fear for you, for what he will do. You're not leaving here alive. You're not as strong as you believe you are. But no one ever is.
Okay, so we have the fifth track from NightNight's album Love Decayed, we just listened to, called On His Mind. And also a big shout out to both of the raids that we just got. And that last track really brought all the raiders out, I guess. But yeah, big thanks to Acid Bitter and also to DJ Dark Angel Carey for those raids. Hello to everyone new in the chat. We are here with the Brooklyn-based Darkwave artist NightNight, where we are chatting about her first release under the moniker called Love Decayed, and we're doing a play-by-play now with each track. We've watched some of the videos as well. And we are here with NightNight's producer, Yasmin, who is telling us about things. So welcome in.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us in this beautiful discussion. On His Mind, that song is definitely, we kind of talked earlier about the whole thematic movie soundtrack type of vibe, and that one definitely is one of those ones. It's a personification of something. It's not about a real person. That's about for lack of a more specific term, like mental illness in general. It's about like just thoughts and actions like closing in on you and having to not allow them into your thoughts. You know what I mean? If you let it happen, if you let them into your thoughts, if you let that person around, it's not going to be good for you. It's like a reminder, of personifying something that's not a person.
So Love Decayed, basically, it's just like, it's hard lessons in love, like track after track, right?
Yeah. It's that's a really good way of putting it. It's like hard lessons to learn. Some of them are directly about people, and then others of them are like about yourself, because like how you treat yourself and how you look at yourself is a big part of love. So yeah, that's a hard lesson track.
Yes. All right. Do you have anything else you want to tell us about this track? I think we have quite a bit to go through still here.
No, it's good. There's some real violins on that track. That's one of the few with violin on it.
And you played that as well.
Yeah. A lot of work.
How long have you been playing violin? Was that your first instrument?
Yeah. So since a very long time. Yeah.
Middle school or something?
Yeah, 20 years.
Nice. I love it when those first instruments come into play in like later musical projects. I'm like classically trained on saxophone, but not using that for anything right now. I was in like a no wave band with it, but I wasn't really like, it's nice to be able to use it later in life in other ways.
Listen, I will call you for a sexy sax solo. That is necessary.
I'm waiting for this.
Yeah, I can 100% think of a couple ways I need a sexy sax.
Now that people are more and more aware of this being a thing, I'm getting more requests to play on stream. I haven't played in a few years now, but maybe one day. All right, so we're going to watch the next video, which is called Love Decayed. It's the title track.
Yeah, let's go.
Welcome back. You just heard the track Love Decayed from NightNight's album of the same title, the title track, indeed. And another excellent video. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so really odd story behind this. So Melissa, the same person who shot Leaves, there was a time when we were both in Los Angeles at the same time, and we did a video for a song on the record called Ugly, featuring a couple of my friends, including my friend Hope. And unfortunately, that video got scrapped, right? So when Love, because Ugly was never going to be a single, right? So it went from being a song that I was going to release as a single to a song that, like, I later didn't feel was something I wanted to represent myself anymore, you know? So I shifted to Love Decayed as the title track. Again, that happened way later, like once we recorded the guitars and everything on it. So we wanted to do a video for this. And I really loved my friend Sean in Seattle. Sean Wapel, who lives in Seattle, is a great visual artist. He does paintings. He did the cover of the Love Decayed record. He's the one who painted that sort of heart thing, which wasn't really a heart. It was like a total accident. So he gave that to me for my birthday a very long time ago, and I kept it. You know, he gave me an actual painting. And then I like messaged him 10 years later, like, hey, can I use this for the cover of my album? And he was like, sure, but let me give you a higher resolution version of a scan of it instead of what the version that you have, you know? So I also saw some of the work he was doing recently. He does a lot of like nature videos and photography, and then he morphs them, like uses computer graphics to like distort them and change them. So I saw that. I thought it was really beautiful. And I said, Sean, would you like to do a video for it? And he said, yeah, but could I have some footage of you? Right. And, you know, we're not in the same city, so I couldn't film it with him. And I didn't have any footage of myself that I liked very much. But then I realized that we're never going to use the video from this other song. So I asked Melissa if I could, you know, hey, we're not going to use this video. Do you mind if I rip it apart and just take these like little bits of myself and send them to Sean so Sean could make it into a different video? And like this is why it's great working with people who are your friends and who you trust and everything, because she was fine with it, you know, which says a lot. She was like, yeah, that's fine. And Sean was fine with working with something that someone else had done. So like no weird ego stuff, no weird like, you know, cattiness. They both were just like, yeah, why not? You know, this won't get used otherwise, you know? So that's how that worked. So the video for that was shot to be a different video, and then was taken out of context, the footage of myself and the smoking and everything taken out of context and put into this by Sean, who'd never seen the original video finished. So it's a really cool collage of different people and different ideas.
Yeah. So it's a combination of the two videos just put together. So the footage of you from the previous video that wasn't going to be released, plus some nature imagery, essentially.
Yeah, and the processing of it, like, you know, he
Sure.
layered that stuff and timed it really beautifully.
Cool. Do you want to talk about this track? I know you said it was your favorite song that you've done personally.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a skeleton version of it that I had for a long time that I really liked, and you know, I like the it's a total dramatic song. I really like drama, so I like the whole stop, pull the trigger, you know, like just, you know, do what you're gonna do. You know, it's really a like keep it real kind of track, right? Not to distill it to like, you know, total street slang here, but that is what it is. It's like, don't pretend that this is something it isn't. Don't string me along. Just if you're gonna say something, then say it. You know, that's the whole song. But it takes a while to say that to somebody, you know, and it's you know, it's about the kindness that comes in just being brutally honest, you know. And the recording of it and everything, like I said, there was a skeleton of it. I kept it around for a really long time, and then when I went to Sylvia's, we were able to record guitar as loud as we wanted, you know, put on, you know, replace the acoustic guitar with a different acoustic guitar, went back and played the electric guitars with all these layers and these like beautiful effects and Eventide H3000s and all the things that you imagine in your head that you're going to use, but they're really there, you know. And Sylvia was just like, what are you thinking of doing? I kind of explained it. I told her, hey, I really want to do this and this. And she's just like, go for it. I'll come back in a couple hours, you know? So I just had the engineers and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Let's try it. And, you know, it took a while to get that guitar sound, a lot of different pedals. There's an IG video of me with like just a pile of like 40 or 50 different guitar pedals and just trying them going, no, this sounds horrible. That sounds terrible. Like just, you know, narrowing it down to what we ended up using on that record. So I love it because it is exactly what I wanted it to be. It sounds exactly how I wanted it to sound.
Yeah, you mentioned that a few people had commented that it was like too slow or they wanted it to be slightly faster.
Yeah, a lot of people, pretty much anyone who heard it before I went to record it with Sylvia said that it was too slow. They didn't know why I was putting it on the record and I should just leave it off. You know, it's too rock, a lot of things, a lot of reasons to leave it off. And I played it for Sylvia and Sylvia was like, I really like this song. I like it so much. I want to play on it. So then I just kind of disregarded anything anyone else said. I was like, you know, I think I was right about it. You know, she agrees with me.
Can you remind us who Sylvia is?
Oh yeah. Sylvia Massey, she produced the record. Sylvia Massey's worked with a lot of people, but like if I were to distill it to the people that mean the most to me, she worked for Prince for a long time at Paisley Park. She worked on some of the last Johnny Cash records. She worked with Tool. She worked with System of Down. You know, she that's just a couple of them. You know, again, someone else with
so quite a range, but more of a rock-oriented producer.
Definitely, yeah, definitely a rock producer, but also she makes her own music as well, and she's very eclectic. And her big claim to fame, or her thing that she's known for, is sort of experimentation. So she will just try anything and do things in crazy weird ways and get a very emotional, odd response from people, you know. And that's really why I've admired her since I was very young, you know, because of her methods, you know. And that, even though the records that she worked on were amazing, it's not even about that. It's about, you know, her mentality. I like that mentality a lot.
You have to be a pretty hardcore producer to have worked with Prince, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, and she's got all sorts of like recordings of Prince that were never released because obviously his, you know, estate is very careful about what they put out, you know, and he recorded every day. So there's a bunch of...
Prince. That's kind of another story.
Yeah, it's a whole nother thing. So
like copyrights and
yeah. But yeah,
I mean, every artist should have like creative control over what they actually put out and whatnot. But yeah. Apparently. It's impressive that she's worked with him. I feel like, you know, I would be very intimidated in that situation, even if I were like, you know, an experienced producer who had worked with a bunch of big bands. It's like,
absolutely. I mean, he was like
known for being a diva.
Yeah, and he chose female engineers, and you know, he tried to have women around him as much as possible, you know, which is at the time was somewhat revolutionary. There just weren't a lot of female engineers who were being given opportunities like that, even when they were qualified. It still is a very hard field to break into. You know, you'll see for every male record producer, you know, there's like 100 male record producers for every female. So even like female identifying, there's just, you know, it's very, very low, a very, very low amount of any sort of...
It's rough out there.
Yeah. So, you know, we're talking about somebody who's doing it, you know, in the 90s, you know, so I admire that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next track now, unless you have anything else you want to tell us about that one.
No, we're good.
Okay, so let's listen to Little Sister next, track number 7 from Love Decayed.
You think I'm misguided, you're not fooling me. You call me little sister. I'd hate to see your family tree. You've got a timid smile, but can you reconcile with the thoughts I know you're having? Baby, no. I know what I need. Oh, don't even start. You call me little sister, break my heart. Oh, don't even start, baby. Oh, you make me suffer. You make me suffer. Oh, don't even start. You call me little sister, break my heart. Oh, don't even start, baby. No, you make me suffer. You make me suffer, brother. You make me suffer, brother. Could you be persuaded into making just this one mistake? Could you be dissuaded from being good for goodness sake? You call me little sister, and that's not what your actions seem. Black eyes and hair, a wanting stare. Your jacket smells like satin sheets. Baby, no. I know what I need. Oh, don't even start. You call me little sister, break my heart. Oh, don't even start, baby. No, you make me suffer. You make me suffer, brother. You make me suffer. You make me long. You make me wonder if I read you wrong. You make me suffer. You make me scared. You make me wonder, was there something there? Was there really nothing there? Oh, don't even start. You call me little sister, break my heart. Oh, don't even start, baby. No, you make me suffer. You make me suffer. Oh, don't even start. You call me little sister and break my heart. Oh, don't even start, baby. No, you make me suffer. You make me suffer, brother. You make me suffer, brother. You make me suffer, brother.
All right, so we have Little Sister, track number 7. Does this track have a special meaning?
Well, it's the sexy song on the record. It's the why don't we do this song? What is your problem? That's kind of the seductive element of the record. And someone asked like what song I like playing live the most, and it's definitely this one because that might change over time, but it's the most fun. You can be the sassiest about it. And this was, mostly songs weren't written quickly, but this one was. This was a quick, straight to the point, traditional type of song to write for me. There's not a lot of like really crazy stuff going on. It's, synth pop, dark wave, like straight ahead. Yeah. easy message, rock and roll, easy message here.
Rock and roll. Yeah, I noticed that you seem to be getting into that one in your live set. If you missed it, NightNight did a strict tempo set last week. It's on my page still in the VODs. And yeah, it was really good. Also featuring Void Vision, also known as Sherry Berry, on keys and vocals, who is also part of the live band. So the tracks are written by NightNight, featuring a few other people on the recordings, but mostly still NightNight. And then for the live sets, then we also have the addition of Sherry Berry to the band. So in case anyone is wondering how that works, Sherry Berry is a member of the live band. So if you do see NightNight live, it would technically be also with Sherry Berry. Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully, if you're lucky, nothing goes wrong.
And there is a live set coming up in Brooklyn on February 25th. What was the name of the venue again?
Eris Evolution, Eris Evolution.
Okay. And also, hopefully, fingers crossed, in Germany in a few months for festivals, including this little festival. Do you want to tell them?
Oh, Wave Gothic Treffen.
Just a teeny tiny little festival right there.
Yeah. It's a tiny little gathering of like 10,000 plus people.
It's the biggest goth festival in the world.
We'll most likely be playing
pretty
like
much
11 a.m. Right? We're gonna be playing like as people get breakfast, but it doesn't matter. It really. I
don't think there's probably like no like really bad times to play. Like there's still going to be tons of people everywhere. And actually, I feel like hearing this sort of music for breakfast sounds delightful, to be honest. I would love to see a brunch show with NightNight.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? It's really going to help you digest things.
Yes. Digestive Darkwave. Darkwave for digestion. What?
Oh, wow.
Coming up with all sorts of enterprises today. All right. Do you have anything else you want to tell us about this track, Little Sister?
No, it's just fun. It's fun, dance around, kind of sexy. It's cute. I think it would also make a good TikTok background video. It'd be kind of creepy. People are going to use it for bad things.
Yeah, I could see the meaning turning pretty quickly into weird territory.
Yeah, this could be weird.
Use it correctly. All right. But, anything is possible on TikTok, apparently.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so next we have Somewhere Outside.
Right, yeah.
Somewhere outside where we are not right now. We are indeed inside.
We are here inside.
And we are here with NightNight, who's going to tell us a little bit about the track.
Yeah. Well, that song, there's two songs on the record, that song and Ugly, which were like hard to sing because they're just so sad, right? Which is, again, feel good hit of the summer. But those two songs are just like so difficult for me to think about that I don't, we didn't play it live when you saw us for the set, and maybe in the future we will. But the reason we didn't is just because it takes so much mental energy for me to not think about what the song is about when I sing it. And when I was singing it live, Sylvia has this thing where we didn't do more than 3 takes of the vocal. So, all the songs are recorded in the same day. Jen asked that in the chat, how long it took to record the vocals. The version of the vocals that's on the record were recorded in one day, all the songs. We had one vocal day, and her approach is to do it as close to like a live performance as possible. So not piece 8,000 takes together, do it 3 times, so it's not, none of them are perfect. There's problems in every single one. And again, this is like part of the live and let live, let go. Don't be completely over protective of everything on the record. That's like was my mentality to it, was to make it more real than contrived. So on this song and on Ugly, you can kind of hear it at the end of the song. Like when I listen to it, at least I can hear that he can barely keep it together. You know what I mean? Like it's not like out of pitch, it's not like out of breath, but you can tell the person, when you're talking to someone on the phone, you're like, are you crying? Is there something wrong? Like that's the vibe of the end of this song and that song, where it's like if you listen, you can tell like a person's not all right. It's like hard for them to talk to you, so it's hard to even listen to be honest with you. I don't listen to this song very often.
That's fair. I mean, that's good that you're creating work that's so personal. So we may have talked about it a little bit, but what is it in front of you right now? Like, is that part of your gear, like in your space that you're in right now?
Right. Yeah. So when we did the live set in the basement, I took all my live stuff up, and then I played a show with the Wants recently after that. So I tore a bunch of stuff down and brought that, like the keyboard that's down here is the keyboard I use with the Wants. And I put that here. So it's kind of like parts of my studio all thrown on a desk. But I do for NightNight, I use this live as an effects processor, and I use this little guy here. Instead of using like a computer live or anything, we play some like longer samples and sequences from that. Sherry has her own sequencer and a couple, about 2 or 3 synthesizers she uses as well. A couple bass synthesizers, and then a lead synth. And then I have one more keyboard in a bag under my bed that I use with NightNight too. So it's this is most of the stuff I use for recording, and then also some of the stuff we use for live.
Cool. All right, so we're going to move on to the next track, which is called Their Man.
Yeah.
Bend them with your hands and tie them round your finger. The light here never stands. The hungry always linger. I'll wait there for you. assumption that God is real. That he or she or it is the being responsible for our existence, for all the beauty and all the suffering in the universe we know. morning, a more forgiving world. You keep me so low, I don't remember how to love. I keep me so far down, I keep me so far down, I keep me so fucked down that I cannot get up.
All right, so we just had a trio of tracks from this album, Love Decayed. I played Their Man, and also I played Strange Dismay, and the last track was called Down. So we are here with NightNight, who's going to tell us a little bit about these. Apparently, Down and Their Man had some similarities. I'm also really interested in hearing about this track, Strange Dismay, because it sounded quite different to me than the other stuff that I've heard on the album.
Yeah. So the pair of Their Man and Down are songs that almost didn't make the record. I had sort of electronic versions of both of those songs that I had for a very long time. I think Down is the oldest song on the record. I had that song when I lived in Seattle. It was one of the first songs that I wrote for the project. And I wrote a lot of different iterations of it as a industrial or heavier song. And people heard it and they really liked that song. And then I kept making more and more versions, and the overall consensus I got back from people was to make it heavier, like make it heavier, make it heavier, make it heavier. And then I got to a point where I was like, why am I listening to anyone? You know, this sucks. And then I went in and recorded these two songs acoustic. It's kind of a like a fuck you move, honestly. Like I just didn't want to hear anyone else talk about how this should be a Nine Inch Nails, like it should be a heavy song, and I love Nine Inch Nails. But it's really weird how people, there's different feedback, right? There's feedback like, I really like this, I would like to see you do more of this, which is like your friends can tell you that. That's fine. Like, I wish you'd sing more. I wish I could hear you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's, you think about it. But then there's people who are just like, no one will ever listen to this if it doesn't do this, and one of the things I hear a lot is about tempo, right? Or subject matter, it's too depressing. I hear that a lot too. But with these ones, it was like they were pretty heavy, and it was like, just take them the extra mile, just add some guitars, just get some real heavy drums on it and all this other stuff. And like, the more I heard it, the more I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to do the opposite of that. So that's why there's just two acoustic songs on the record that I recorded at the same time. I just said, I'm just going to play both of these, I just went to the studio and played both of them. And Strange Dismay is, totally different. It's like a spoken word track, that's one that, like, when I describe to people, like, this is what the song is, everyone's like, oh my God, it sounds like a disaster. And they hear it and they're like, wow, it's really cool. It's the only one that's not about love. It is about love, but it's about like, higher power sort of love. It's about this idea of God that I've had like my whole life. This idea that maybe if there was a God, that God screwed up. Right. That, it was a great idea. And then they realized that, like, oh my God, I made a mistake. This place is a nightmare. This is not what I wanted. And they couldn't fix it. This idea that, like, I think every major religion considers God to be like infallible. There's no problem with this perfect being that created everything, So I just, when I was a kid, I must have asked somebody, like, what if they made a mistake? God doesn't make mistakes, But what if God did make a mistake? What if we're all a mistake and they can't undo it because it's too late? It doesn't go very far in school, in a religious school, but that's the concept.
Did you go to a religious school growing up?
Yeah, I did. I I went to a variety of Christian schools. I have one Jewish parent and one Muslim parent, and they send me to a Christian school because they were like, you're in America now. Do the American thing. Go to a Christian school.
Oh,
know?
I can't say I've heard that one before.
They just,
we're not Christian, but please go to Christian school.
Yeah, I think, there is an idea among some people that it's just like, we don't really care what you believe as long as you believe in something. And that's kind of what that was their view. Right. And it doesn't really work though, because then you have like multiple stories conflicting, and then you go to your teacher and then you tell them, hey, my dad says this, my mom says this, and they go, oh, unfortunately, they're all going to hell. And then you kind of think to yourself, why would my parents go to hell? Something's wrong, so it didn't do what they thought it would do. But
was this like your entire schooling was through?
No. It was really young. Right. So when I was very young, I went to a Presbyterian school, which was like very, no dancing other than square dancing, real weird, like super conservative school. I don't think my parents
did they have kids old enough that they had like school dances with square dancing?
Well, this is Nevada. So square dancing happened in school from time to time. I can remember
it was just a thing overall.
Yeah,
not even just during the dances. People square danced.
It was no, not like in normal public, but it was a thing like we're gonna remember the past and the pioneers, and here's square dancing. Here's one day where we learned square dancing, and I mean my parents.
Sure. I mean, I think anywhere where it has like a rural population in America, it's probably a little bit friendly to square dancing. Like there's big communities for it out here.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there are.
I mean, it's fine. Whatever. People can do whatever they want. It's fun.
It was one of the least offensive things that was taught there.
Dancing, like, yeah, go ahead. Why not?
Yeah.
But I guess, in their eyes, there's not a lot of like what people might normally consider what happens at like a high school dance or something.
Well, this was way before high school. Right?
Sorry. Yeah.
No.
You said that already.
Yeah, and then no baby programming. Right. This was like pre-grades. Like, maybe second, third grade was the highest, the furthest I went in that system.
Square dancing, I've actually square danced before, and I do agree that it's fun. All right. Anyway,
it really was. I don't have bad memories of square dancing. I just have, oh my God, I did that memories of square dancing.
It's kind of nice. They give you rules to follow. It's not like you're totally making up your own moves. It's like you have to follow like a system, and I don't know. It's kind of silly and old timey for sure. But
yeah,
oh well. There are worse pastimes.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
So wait, I don't know how we got so concentrated on square dancing. Sorry.
Oh yeah, this is Strangest May, God, theology.
Right. So the influence of religion on this track was at least somewhat guided by your early experiences with being in a Christian school, and not. I mean, your parents. Did you go to like church for anything? It seems like they were, two different religions also. Like, did they encourage you to find your own religion, or?
Well, okay, so just without
we have to go like crazy in depth into this subject.
Yeah. It's a very confusing thing, but my mother's not highly religious anyway. So she's I would say a spiritual person, but not an extremely religious person. So she never expected me to do anything. My father is an extremely religious person, but also did not force me into the religion. So yeah, he brings it up constantly. He makes it a part of every conversation, but is totally understanding of the fact that I don't follow the religion. So that's how it was. No, I didn't go to church. They never went to church.
Well, I love this track, Strangest May. It kind of gives me like a 80s minimal synth vibe to it, but like with a modern sheen, and your delivery is more like detached and like, like you're reciting a poem or something.
Yeah.
It's definitely got a different vibe, and it's got sort of like a dance churn element to it. It's got like, sort of discombobulated beats.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't mean that as like a
Fast.
negative thing, but
No, it's one of the faster tracks on the record, and it also featured a lot of, like I said, live percussion. So like people banging actual things and dropping actual things and breaking real things. So it does have the old school of industrial in it, that sort of old heart of industrial.
just a splash.
It's full of
And
industrial.
yeah, I love that these other two tracks were recorded acoustic after you were encouraged to make them like heavier and heavier. People were like,
Yeah.
Nine Inch Nails, you're like, actually acoustic.
Well, it's like even every artist has some sort of diversity and some sort of like palette, so when you just keep pushing somebody to do something, it's also so early. Like I don't have anyone waiting for a specific thing from me, so the idea of pushing someone into something you think they are before they're anybody, before they've even had a voice, is just like gross to me. You know what I mean? So I just don't let it happen, to the best of my ability. I don't let it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I take advice from others always through a grain of salt. It's like I'm, wanting to produce something that's going to meet my vision or whatever for it. It's like ultimately it's your project. So you should be able to feel good about what you're doing and not feel like you have to bend to anyone else's wishes. I think that's why a lot of people are opting to like self-release these days, to have more of their own creative control. And now it's more and more possible with Bandcamp and just, I don't know, easier access through the internet to release your own and promote your own stuff.
True. It is.
But I mean, so you said you were originally going to self-release this album. What happened with that? Like, how did you find this label in Germany, No Cut?
They found me. So I worked with a publishing company called Schubert Publishing, and they were really big fans of the music and really big fans of the record, and they're based in Germany. So No Cut is a record label that's worked a lot with them before. So they heard the stuff and they wanted to help release it in Germany. And they're also booking us for these German dates because they have a very deep history in the alternative scene in Germany.
Cool. So we have two last tracks here, and then we're going to do a little poll in the chat on just like your favorite track from the album, just for our viewers here. Just for fun, no big deal.
No one informed me there would be democracy involved.
I like the polls here, but yeah, just a slight bit of democracy to finish out the interview. But yeah, the next track is called Ugly.
It's remarkable how you love me. Why would I want to make that ugly? You're contented existing as you are. Why would I want to leave a scar?
All right, welcome back, everyone. We just listened to the last two tracks from this album, Love Decayed, just released from NightNight, out January 28th, and available right now on CD through a German label, No Cut, and also available digitally on iTunes, on Apple Music. And do you want to tell us where else they can find it right now?
Pretty much everywhere. I think I've updated my Bandcamp and put it up there. I also have
I
it.
was wondering about that actually. I was like, no Bandcamp, what?
Yeah,
But I
no,
mean, I can imagine why people, if you have like a website or something where there's like no 50% cut or whatever, why not that
no, you
instead?
know what? The thing with Bandcamp, the only reason I ever don't update Bandcamp is because I forget. So if like you want to buy something on Bandcamp, like just message me and go, hey, it's not on Bandcamp because I have to manually do it. With the other sites, they just, you know, they all distribute to themselves. So like Amazon Music and Apple Music, which is like my favorite place for you to find my stuff, Apple Music or iTunes, because they've got some really great curators there who place NightNight on a lot of great playlists, alongside some fantastic other bands that are great to discover and bands so that's my favorite personal place because of how they treat my music. But feel free to listen wherever you are most comfortable.
Yeah. Do you have any plans on releasing the CD and like an American distributor? Because I think someone mentioned it was like $35 shipping or something. It was like very expensive to ship here.
Yeah. So I really want to. It's just that everything was kind of backed up. So the idea is that we're gonna have physicals in the United States. I really want to have vinyl in the United States as well, like at least a couple singles or a double for sale. So I'm very interested to know what your poll is, which songs you guys like the most. But I full intention is to have physical copies in the United States without having to order through Germany.
Mysteriously, the option of other one. So I guess everyone had different favorites from the album. Um, yeah, and then Love Decayed came in second, and then everything else was tied. So I did the singles as the options because I can
Yeah,
only have five like slots on the poll. So I did your
right.
singles and then like one for everything else, which I guess there were a lot of tracks on the album. There's like 13. So
Yeah. So it must have been the others were like things that weren't singles, right?
right, right. And I
Mhm.
think someone said their man. I think I voted for Strange Dismay because I'm a sucker for the spoken word vocals. I mean,
Oh, cool.
I love like Love Decayed and Maybe It's Too Late and it's all great, but that one caught me for the freaky electronic element personally.
That's gonna
Um,
be fun live.
looks like
That's gonna
someone
be
else voted for Strange Dismay too.
yeah.
But this last one has me feeling untied.
Oh
So someone
yeah.
liked
Oh
the
wow.
instrumental one too. So I guess there's a wide variety of opinions here. And then Love Decayed leaves, or Love Decayed came in second after like the other, which was like everything else on your album.
The grab
And then
bag.
and then the other singles all tied each other, which I'm kind of
Wow.
surprised by because I thought that a lot of people have listened to like Baby It's Too Late by now and
Yeah.
may have been the favorite. But anyway, this is why I create polls so I can tell what's happening inside people's brains.
Yeah. The
uh,
most I'm actually pretty shocked by when I look at what the most listened to songs are, because I also assumed that Maybe It's Too Late would be like the number one song of everything, and it's Leaves and Love Decayed, which is like 65 beats per minute. So I'm just like shocked that many people listen to Love Decayed. It was it seems to be a popular song on the internet as far as my catalog goes. And I'm happy to see it.
well, I hope they're all about to get more popular. But I also wanted to give a shout out to. We just got a raid from DJ Echo. We're just wrapping things up here with our interview with NightNight, who is a Brooklyn based Darkwave artist who just released her first album under this moniker, Love Decayed. It's really good. We just listened to it. You can check out this interview after we're done on this channel and also post it to YouTube probably next week. I'm a little bit behind, sorry. I have to edit my last one with Lady Maru first. um, But yeah, it will be up soon. I'll post it in the Discord page and on my socials and whatnot. So yeah, you
Amazing.
could follow the YouTube for that. And yeah, a big thanks to NightNight. I guess we didn't have you talk about these last two tracks, did we? Do you have anything else you wanted to say about them? Sorry, I cut you off with my poll.
No, don't worry. I love the poll. So we had Untied and we had well, I guess I'll just talk about Untied for 2 seconds. It's not that it's just a funny story. It's not like a long story. A lot of angst on that record about like what other people have told me to do in my life, right? Along with like failed sort of relationships and love and big grandeur love and giant themes of love. This song was I had an ex-boyfriend who wanted to write music with me, and we kind of sat down to do some sort of jammy things because that's what he wanted to do. And we recorded some stuff. It was terrible, and he would just blame me. You know what I mean? It was like, why do you insist on doing this? Why can't you play with other people? Why are just like all this like demeaning, like awful stuff about why I'm the problem, right? And years later, I found these files of all the stuff we did together, and I was deleting it all and just like not even listening to it, just deleting it. And then I got to this one and I listened to it, and it was a particularly terrible train wreck. And I was like, how could I have sat through that and played on top? Like, I was I deaf? Like, what the hell was my problem, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna mute myself. And then I started listening to his track, and I was like, God, that's a nightmare. And then I reversed it and I muted his track and like listened to mine. I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. And that's what this is. This is just that live improvisation with him muted. I just took him out of it. It's that, you know, that's not even I don't know if I could ever play it again, because it was just me with some synthesizers just playing, you know, something as he like jacked off over it for 5 minutes.
Wait, so you somehow removed that, or it was not on the original recording to begin with?
Well, it's multi-tracked, right? So he had his own track, I had my own track, and the stuff was direct input. So no microphones in the room. So you can just mute somebody and they disappear. Right. That's what I did.
Yes. Ha ha ha.
So that's what that is.
Oh, I love that backstory. I'm glad I asked for it. Very sassy. Would this person know that you've used this recording?
No,
without them on it.
No, because this person would never it would never cross their mind that they might have been a problem. Right. And they would hear that and go, oh, what a jerk. What a jerk. How could anyone do that?
How could you?
Yeah.
So wait, that was Untied or Ugly?
Untied, yeah.
Okay. And we also listened to Ugly in that last little bit.
It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just, you know, that one's pretty self-explanatory.
Sure. All right. So we are getting the full scoop on this album from NightNight. If you missed it, you can catch the VOD later and up on YouTube later as well, a slightly edited version. You know. But yeah, a big thanks to NightNight for joining us here. She has a live show coming up in Brooklyn on February 25th at where's the venue again? Sorry, I'm gonna forget everything.
Eris. I think
Eris.
Also by Eris Evolution in Williamsburg. Come out. It's going to be a great bill. I can't tell you exactly who it is yet, but
do you know who else is playing?
No, not yet. There's a lot of ass out, so we got to get some confirmations. But the options are all good. That's what I can say. I don't want to commit anyone who hasn't committed yet.
Sure.
COVID
you have to play the show now.
Yeah, but the options are all good. So whoever of these bands confirms, you will be happy to have been there.
Someone in the chat actually has a question for us, which it's a good one. Where did the name NightNight come from?
Oh yeah. This question. Let's sign off with this question. I was staying in a motel, in Las Vegas, a pretty rough one. And I was looking out the window, thinking about what I was going to do with this music. And there was a sign that said open all night, but it was broken. And it just kind of flashed the night over and over. And that's where I got the name from.
All right. When was that?
Ooh. 2017.
And when did you actually start making music under this name?
I think then. That's about when it was, 2016, 2017.
So have you been working on some of these tracks for a few years then, it sounds like?
Yeah, like
in various incarnations.
Right. Yeah, like Down. Down is like one of the older songs, and they've just gone through a bunch of versions, so, but most of the stuff that made the album did not go through a bunch of versions. Most of the stuff that I wrote back then got thrown away.
Sounds fair. Always fine to revisit and, revise things, but yes, most people take a bit of time to sort out what they're going for. All right. Let's see. And what other stuff do you have coming up? You have potentially some shows in Germany in a few months.
Yeah. So Wave Gothic Treffen in Germany, as well as Plage Noir in Germany festivals. And then we've got the Brooklyn show, and we have a remix album coming out the same day as the Brooklyn show, featuring Void Vision remix of Maybe It's Too Late, a Clack remix of Leaves, and another remix by Aesthetic Perfection. So it's going to be cool. Keep an eye out for all that.
All right. That all sounds great. We're wishing you a lot of luck in your future endeavors. Hopefully we'll all be able to play shows again soon. And this album becomes a smash hit. But yeah, you can buy it through the German label No Cut right now on CD, and there's maybe talk of potential future vinyl singles or something in the works.
Yeah, we're working on it. It's going to be a minute, but we're working on it.
And it's digitally available everywhere in all the normal places you could find that. So, Bandcamp and iTunes and Apple Music and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Streaming, support the artist if you can.
Yeah, of course. Come to a show.
Yes, all of that. Do you have any merch also? Do you have like tees or anything?
Oh yeah, I've got shirts, multiple shirts. I've got a short sleeve shirt. I have a long sleeve shirt. They have the NightNight on the sleeves. So mostly an all black shirt with a sleeve with the logo.
And those are on your Bandcamp?
They are nowhere.
Oh no.
I sell them at shows. But I'm actually I sell them at shows. The German website has some merch. But you should either come to a show or message me. I have posted on Instagram for sale before. I think I might I'll put them on Bandcamp now that you mentioned it. I never really thought about it. I'll put it up there. I do have merchandise. I have stickers and shirts.
Cool. Well, if you want some shirts and stickers, hit up NightNight on Instagram. I'll post a link to our Instagram here in a minute. But yeah, Bandcamp is a great place to support artists for their merch as well. Okay, cool. Well, I won't keep you any longer here. If the chat has any rating suggestions for me, go ahead and leave them in the chat. Although I think I just decided who I was going to rate while I'm saying that. But yeah, I always liked hearing about new channels anyway. So let me know if there's anyone that you want me to know about. But yeah, a big thanks to NightNight, Yasmin, for joining us tonight. It was a really fun interview.
You're welcome.
The album sounds great. I loved hearing about it, and hopefully you all did too. You can catch this later on YouTube, and also it'll remain up here on my Twitch channel for like 2 months, I think. So lots of places to catch things. And I am going to hit it now to our outro slide here, and we will transport you to another great music streamer. So hang around, and we will visit another stream after this. So yeah, thanks again, and have a good night.
Thank you. Good night. Bye.